Yes, I am a breast cancer survivor, and I don't mind talking about it because my feeling is this. If God has taken us through any kind of heartache, trouble, or pain, He wants us to tell others because He wants us to tell others how powerful and how great He is. And when you keep it to yourself, you're not helping anybody else. When you tell what you have been through, then you're helping God to get the word around. So I never keep it to myself. And some of you have already heard my story, but some of you have not. And for those of you who have not, I'm just doing what God wants me to do. And that's sharing it with you, sharing my story with you. Well, I am a 33-year breast cancer survivor. And I tell you, I got breast cancer about a year after my husband passed. My mind was not on anything like getting sick. I had 3 daughters, one in college and 2 in middle school. So, of course, I was not thinking about anything like that. And a friend of mine called me at home one day. I think it was a weekend day because I was home during the day. And she gave me a call, Elaine Johnson Copeland. Elaine Johnson Copeland. And I mentioned her name because I feel like I should mention her name because she is the one who called me and said, Margie, have you been tested? Have you had your mammogram? I said, no. She said, well, you need to get your mammogram. Now, here she is in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and I'm in Washington, D.C., and she called me. She said, I'm calling all of my friends to tell them to get a mammogram. She said, because I found out that I had breast cancer, and I want you to go to the doctor and make certain you are okay. I thought that was kind of strange for her to call me just out of the clear blue sky like that. But I certainly said, okay. I said, I'll go. I mean, I had nothing to lose, my goodness, because sometimes that's how God comes to you. He comes to you through others. I wasn't even thinking about that. That was the last thing on my mind. So I called my doctor and made an appointment to go see the doctor. Oh, I just knew nothing was going on with me. So I went to the doctor and he said, well, I'm going to send you for a biopsy to just see what's going on. He said, I feel something, but I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say what it is. So you just go to the doctor, go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital and got a mammogram. And of course, you know, some people hate taking the mammogram because they put your breast in this instrument and it squeezes it vertically. Then it turns around and you put it in again and it squeezes you horizontally. And it's not a comfortable feeling. As a matter of fact, the technicians say, well, you'll just feel a little discomfort. Oh, but it was more than a discomfort because they have to squeeze it so tightly. And that's okay. Because I tell you one thing, getting that mammogram and finding out that you are safe, that little pain is nothing compared to what you experience when you actually have breast cancer. Anyway, so I went and to the hospital and got my mammogram. Of course, they got back to my doctor, my gynecologist, and told him that I did have something that they wanted to look at. So that's why he had me to go to see the biopsy, to do the biopsy. Now he said, Mrs. Kennard, you have a fibrocystic breast. One of your breasts is fibrocystic. I said, fibrocystic? What does that mean? He said the tissues in that breast are a little thicker, and a lot of women have a fibrocystic breast, and you cannot detect a lump because the mass of the breast is thick. And that's why you have to go and have that mammogram, then have a biopsy, because you might not be able to detect it, and I might not be able to detect it. So anyway, I know that one of my breasts is fibrocystic. Well, when I went to have the biopsy, they put me to sleep, or maybe, I don't know if they put me to sleep. Maybe they did a local anesthetic, because I know they went into the breast with a needle of some kind, and they pulled out the tissue. They pulled out some tissue, and okay, they did that. Then they had to send that to the lab. Now, with a fibrocystic breast, it could be something, but lots of times it's not. It might be a tumor that's not really a cancerous tumor, and they can detect that with the biopsy. Anyway, I had that done, went back to my gynecologist, and he said, yes, you do have breast cancer. In my left breast, I had breast cancer. I said, well, they told me at the hospital that they could find somebody at the hospital to do my surgery. He said, what? He said, no, you're going to LaSalle LaFall. You call Dr. LaSalle LaFall's office, and you make an appointment with him. Of course, I had heard about Dr. LaFall because he's a very influential physician in Washington. He's deceased now. But I said, oh my God, I didn't know. I didn't have a husband to talk to about it. And I just didn't have anybody, but I did have my mother. I talked to her about it. I didn't want to talk to my children about it, of course. I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. So I made my appointment with Dr. LaSalle LaFall. And in talking with his receptionist, she said, well, he takes his patients early in the morning, so you have to be here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, 6 o'clock? I said, can we push it to 10? She said, absolutely not. She said, he comes in at 5:30 and he sees his patients. Then he goes and does his surgeries. Then he's gone by noon. I said, what? I wasn't used to that. So, of course, I went on and saw Dr. LaSalle LaFall. Oh, he was such a warm and friendly physician. He made me feel so good, and he put my mind at ease. He answered any question I had, and my mind was at ease. So then he scheduled my surgery. As a matter of fact, my surgery was in October this month. October the 6th, I think it was. He did that surgery. Now, after the surgery, of course, you stay in the hospital overnight. I think I was there maybe a night and part of the day. And then they said, well, it's time for you to go home. I said, go home? How can I go home already? They have you all bandaged up. You don't have a breast, of course. I had a mastectomy. I did not have the lumpectomy. Some people choose to have the lumpectomy, where they go in and just take that cancerous tumor out and they keep their breast. But I wanted a mastectomy. I just wanted to make sure that it was gone. I didn't want it to pop back up because my friend had the lumpectomy and it popped back up later. So I just wanted to be over with anyway. So I said, oh my God, you're going to let me go home already? I'm not ready. I wanted to just chill in the hospital. I just wanted them to wait on me and for me to do. When I went home, I had to carry on business as usual. So I said, well, now, I never had to worry and wonder who could come pick me up from the hospital, because in the other times I had been in the hospital, my husband always came to pick me up. My pastor, Dr. G. Ray Coleman, came after church to see me on this particular Sunday. So I asked him, I said, well, would you please take me home, Reverend? Would you take me home? So he took me home to my door and escorted me up my steps, and I went on in the house. Luckily for me, my mother was there, and she just decided that she was going to be there to receive me and all of that, and it was just a blessing to have her there. Well, I recuperated, and of course, anybody who has had that surgery knows that when they let you come home, you still have that drainage in you. Do you remember that? Did you have a drainage? Kind of a little ball-like, and it came from the surgical wound. So you had to have that. I tell you, there's so much I could tell you about that that ordeal I had to deal with in that situation. I still think about it. I still think about it, and I think a lot of women think about it, because that was the day I joined many, many women who have been through what I went through on that day. There is a sorority of those of us who have had breast cancer, and we can relate to one another because we have a shared adventure. And that's something we will never forget. If you have had breast cancer, why don't you say something in the comment section to let me know that you are my sister in breast cancery. That's not even a word, is it? But there's something that we share. Even if you did not have a mastectomy and chose to have the lumpectomy, we still share that same experience. Well, I went on, and of course I began to heal. They do not give you the prosthesis. It takes a while. You have to heal before you get the prosthesis. And I chose not to get the silicone implant. So what I have is just where the breast used to be. And of course now I do wear a prosthesis. For those of you who don't understand, or you may want to be interested in knowing this, when a woman has a mastectomy, she's off balance until she gets her prosthesis. And some women may not realize how they get imbalanced, because that breast is heavy. Even if you're not a large woman, that breast is part of your equilibrium. So you might find yourself kind of getting off kilter a bit. I know that's what happened to me. And I used to go around in North Carolina giving speeches, because when I got healed, I moved to North Carolina, and I was part of the Cancer Network down there. And I used to go around giving speeches in churches and other places, because this breast cancer will probably always be with us. And it's always good to know that there's someone who has shared that experience and can be a beacon of light for any woman or man. Men also get breast cancer. That's not spoken of too much, but there are men who get breast cancer. So I guess I should say that there are men and women who belong to this fraternal organization of men and women who are survivors of breast cancer.